presence of our IFTA, the General, Dr. Victoria Sandiga, and all protocols duly observed. You are welcome to this facility. I would say it was paid for and set up by the American. We did the refurbishing, and all the equipment here are functional. And the reason why they spent this money was to solve the trade issue as far as the aflatoxin problem is concerned in the country. And the country loses between $30 to $60 million a year for not being able to export granite. The second reason has to do with health. Our people here in the country are highly exposed to aflatoxins. Reason being that the country is in the southern region in Africa, and the granite and maize produce is subject to aflatoxin pollution. And the third reason why this lab is very, very important is the livestock sector. We all understand that all the great harvests of maize, granite, they go to livestock sector. And we are indirectly exposed by consuming the meat or the egg products from livestock. The laboratory has about 4 or 5 rooms. To my back is the microbiology room, where we do the isolation. If I'm not sure of what fungi is there, we go to that room, look through the microscope. The other room next is where we do the aflatoxin analysis. It's very, very simple and cheap process, which we have the procedure of demonstrated here. And then towards the far end is where we have the incubators and the autoclaves. That's what we do the sterilizing. Begin by reading the names of the granite sample, the very fine particles. The reason why we need to do toxin analysis is because toxins, you cannot see them with your eyes. You cannot smell. Even when you eat, you don't know if it contains aflatoxin or not. So the only way you can know if the sample contains aflatoxin is by doing the analysis. So after grinding, you blend to the machine. Okay, sorry, let me introduce my colleagues.
Okay, after we blend our sample, we've filtered it and we've collected the filtrate. Now we do the analysis, the actual analysis, whereby we take 500 microliters of the sample tablet, which comes along with these kits. So we debate out 500 microliters onto the sample dilution cup, this red cup, and then afterwards we debate out 100 microliters of our extract from the groundnuts or maize that we've blended there. Then we mix it in here as well. We mix by pipeting up and down 5 times. After which, now we'll put in we transfer the mixture. We transfer 100 microliters of the mixture onto this white cup. This cup. We transfer the 100 microliters for it to develop. After it has developed, then we pick it out from here and we insert it onto this cartridge and we insert onto our reader. And then the reader gives you the result. It quantifies how much aflatoxins are in that particular sample. Yeah. So
it's a very, very cheap process. One sample costs between $8 to $10 compared to the high cost or high-tech analytical equipment like HPTLC. So we are promoting
getting into the mixture. Is this something that can be done at a farmstead or in a production facility just as easily?
Very correct, sir. You can see it's a mobile process. After you charge the battery, you can even take them to the fields or the community. So you can actually analyze your samples out there if you want.
But is it something the farmer can do himself, or you'd have to move to the farmers?
I would not actually say the farmer themselves, but Okay.
But you can go to the out session and test, isn't it?
Definitely, sir. And
So we have to be clear. You mentioned the processes of grinding and then getting a filtrate, and then all these kind of things. This can be done in the outer session without doing samples.
they have to come here first to get the knowledge, and then when they get the knowledge, they can go back to the community and then do the test themselves. In terms of grinding, they can actually grind in stone. Let's say in a place where there's no power, they can grind in stone, and like I said earlier, the reader actually has a battery where you can charge and then use it when there are no lights.
Okay.
And then it doesn't demand that kind of high-skilled person to go through the process. Within the farmers, if there's somebody with a diploma or with the first degree, he can help the other farmers in conducting these kind of tests.
So it's like when you started talking, you were talking about the connection of aflatoxin to healthy and to trade. Now, when you look at the trade aspect, is this type of test able to give you a resolution which is required or specified in
Correct, sir.
It's what the resolution.
Yes. If you're exporting to Europe,
Yeah.
the sample needs to have less than 4 parts per billion.
Okay.
If you're exporting within the region, 10 parts per billion is accepted. In the region, I'm talking about South Africa or Zimbabwe. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is able to measure those kind of percentages.
Exactly. Yes. And in addition to the analysis we do here, we do participate in grow efficiency tests conducted by University of Texas, where they send an unknown sample, just like this one. Then you analyze, and then you send back the results. And then they tell you if the analysis is accurate, it goes to what is in there. So we've had 2 certificates, 2017, 2018, and then we are participating in 2019. So we've had 2 certificates showing that the method, the UC and the laboratory is good, accurate enough for purposes.
Yeah, we have to say this technology was developed jointly with CUSA. You said the education was.
All right, sir. This technology is about control technology, started in the US in the 90s, and then by 2003, IITA brought the technology to Africa. And we are now in 16 African countries at different levels. Some are already commercializing the products or the produce from Aflatoxin fields, and we are also training the students in Malawi, at University of Arizona, on this technology. This is since July 2014 in the US, and the reason is for him to come back and support the system. So it's a collaboration between ITA, DAS, and the USDA ARS. We found this one. You see, these 2 at the bottom that produce a lot of toxins. Meanwhile, the ones at the top, there are some that produce toxins, others do not produce toxins. So we take advantage of the ones that do not produce toxins to formulate the product. So the technology is like using the good boys to fight the bad boys.
Right. Outcompete the bad boys, right?
So all the farmer needs to do is put this one, put the grain, the acid grains in the field, they formulate in sorghum, and then they outcompete.
Oh, that's it.
Okay. And begins when we use sorghum as a carrier. Yes. So 3 things we do: we use the polymer, the dye, we have the chance of taking this out there. Shelf life is more than 2 years. And then after you apply in your field, you can see the good strains are growing in the carrier. They grow in their number, and then they are competing with the bad ones. That's what we draw the microorganism. And then we do this kind of tests. You can see it's looking clean, nothing else growing on it. So when you now put the Aflatoxin trays, they look dry, they can stay like that. But if after we sterilize the sorghum and we do the quality control, and then we'll see any kind of growth, like the sorghum germinating or out some other contaminants like what you see here, that will be discarded. So aflatoxin is produced from pure, clean grain that has been sterilized of any surface contaminant. Thank you very much. For the maize, you can actually see the...
So to see the difference in maize, you can't see the difference in G-nuts if it has high aflatoxin, is that right?
No, you can look at whether the grain is contaminated, you can look at the quality in terms of physical parameters.
Okay.
But in terms of actual aflatoxin quantity, you have to do the tests. So I'm showing us here the healthy crop and the contaminated crop. But what the farmers do, they start by picking the crop. And then this quality goes to the market, which is that's where the major problem is. You know. So in our communication messages, we let them understand that what is good for the market is what should be eaten at home. You know, and they say, oh, this is too much for the But after knowing what it costs on their health, 7% of the children never ever have the possibility of attaining their growth parameters because of exposure to GMO. And we did a survey where we conducted the powder that is actually fed to our children. This is a sample. You see the toxin levels are very high, 58% up to here. But the sample that we had in the lab, is showing the difference between the different powder. They all look the same. You know, it is after you do a toxin analysis that you tell whether the sample contains toxin or not. This 20 parts per million. So, my colleague right next there would, okay. The next we'll be talking about is how we...
strain identification, mutant development, and complementation. But because of time, I'm just... Okay, first, we collect samples from the beneficiaries of aflatoxin, whose fields were treated with aflatoxin. Then we bring to the lab, we ground into powder form, then we inoculate the suspension that was made onto this media. This is clean up media that we use for isolation. Isolation is a process whereby fungal strains are extracted from the samples that were collected from the fields treated by aflatoxin. So in this, we cannot tell whether it is fungal strains or bacteria strains. For us to be easy for us to identify, we put on the 5-2 media. So we transfer the colony onto 5-2 media. On 5-2 media, what we expect to have are 3 types of strains. These are S strains, P strains, L strains, and the T strains. On these strains, we are interested with L strains, because these L strains are the ones that are from aflatoxin that were applied in the fields. And the other strains, S, P, T, these are the strains that produce aflatoxin. So we discard 3 types of strains, we proceed with L strains from the aflatoxin that was extracted from our samples. So we transfer the L strain onto media, 5-2 media, then we do mutant development. On mutant development is anything that it grows ghost when it is put on the required media. So why do we put on a selection media? We want to purify, we want to have a mutant that can proceed to complementation, where we can the strains that were used to produce aflatoxin, they were collected here in Malawi. So if on the complementation, if they've complemented like this, this is positive, they have complemented positively. Those strains are not from aflatoxin, they are from elsewhere, because the strains that we use to produce aflatoxin, they are from here in Malawi, but the strains are not from the aflatoxin. Yeah, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much.
The next one.
From there, we take the test strip and dip inside the cup. We wait for 6 minutes. After 6 minutes, then you set the test strip to the cartridge.
Yes. So the important thing here is that when we did not apply Aflatoxin, you can see the toxin values are up to 614 pascal compared to the next value which is below, which is 15 pascal. So that is due to Aflatoxin application. And you can see the trend as it is, as moved from 2016, 17, and so to from May 16.
So we saw a 90 to a 98% reduction, right?
Yes.
Total ingredients. And then we have polymer sticker. Then we have food dye or food color. Okay, this is polymer sticker. This is food dye. And then we have the active ingredient, which are the spores. So we have 1, 2, and 3, and 4 sorghum. We mix them to make Aflatoxin. But before doing that, we need to do quality control to make sure that our sorghum is pure. It doesn't have any contaminants. So that process needs to be, we have to do sterilization of the sorghum, where we put the sorghum into the autoclave and we sterilize it. If it's not sterilized, this is how it will look like. You see a lot of contaminants. But if it's sterile, after you have sterilized it in the autoclave, you see nothing is growing on there. So after we've gotten our sterile sorghum, we will now proceed to the actual mixing of the ingredients. So my colleague will demonstrate how, who will explain the actual mixing.
You're most welcome. My name is Sia, and I'll take you through the actual mixing of the product which make it through the Aflatoxin. So as my friend Christian said, this is the actual active ingredient comprised of the fungus. And again, this is the polymer, which is the sticking agent. Basically, this one is used for that, so that the actual fungus, they should be able to stick to the sorghum which has been already sterilized there. And now we have this as a color dye. So we get a mixture of this one, and this one, and this one to make this spores suspension. So actually this is a mixture comprised of the dye, the polymer, and the actual active ingredient. So we take 10 ml of this spore suspension and we put it into the 1 kg of our sorghum. So we do like this. So may I also request my owner, the owner of our guest of honor. Okay, you want to? Yeah.
Making Aflatoxin.
Yeah. So you can see that our Aflatoxin has been done. And this is actually the final product. So may I pass it on to my colleague to continue?
Okay, welcome here. Audrey Ajiwa. I'll take you through how Aflatoxin works in the soil. As you can see, this is the Aflatoxin before it brine in the soil.
Right.
Yeah. After brine, it explorates to look like this. You can check. Yeah.
You can see. Yeah.
After explorating, it will be taken by insects or wind. Plants, either maize or groundnuts.
Okay.
Then it's now start working. Thank you.
Both wind and insects take it to the plants.
Yeah, it's been taken by insects after exploration.
So the spores, after they sporulate on the surface of the ground, it is being blown around by wind. Yes, and that's how they find their way to the crop.
Okay.
And that's just the natural method through which the bad fungi also goes to the crop. But because we have applied Aflatoxin early enough, the Aflatoxin had completed the bad one. And if there's any chance of the contamination in our crop, it will be by the good fungi and not by the bad one. That is how the toxin levels in the crop finally are very, very low.
Okay. What's the rate of application?
It's 10 kg per hectare. 10 kg
10 kg
per hectare.
Are there any special devices to be able to do that or broadcast?
It is broadcast. We broadcast by hand.
Broadcast by hand.
Yeah, the maize or the granite.
And you're going to demonstrate that here, aren't you?
Yeah, actually, that's the next time.
Okay, the next one.
Aflatoxin. This millet is just a garden for Aflatoxin. Aflatoxin is a leaf with fungi. that we apply in the field. So here I'm going to demonstrate the way we apply Aflatoxin in ground nuts. The first thing, before applying Aflatoxin, a farmer has to make sure that he's not going to do any job in that field. He has to weed, make sure the field is free before applying Aflatoxin.
Does it matter if it's wet or if it's dry?
Say?
Does it matter if the field is wet or if the field is dry?
It's water. It's water. Yes. So in ground nuts, we do like this. And the same, we go to the other row. Yes. Yes, the same we do in maize. In maize, we don't go in the field like you have done, but you just do like this. Then you are going. You are going. Yes. Thank you for listening.
You have an idea what aflatoxin is. Aflatoxin is what has been designed to fight aflatoxin.
We need more pictures.
So it's
Can
going to
yes, please. Yes, please.
and it's going to help reduce a very, very long time.
Okay, good.
From there, we're now going to get the whole event underway. A few weeks before flowering of your crop, and what it does is that the atoxigenic strains will sporulate on the legume that you are applying. By doing that, it's limiting or it's inhibiting the fungus that would have been spreading aflatoxin in your legumes. This is an easy to apply product, something that even an ordinary farmer in the village can use. There was a time when people would broadcast fertilizer, and some still do, depending on what crop you're planting. This can also be done the same way. Amanda abambo taona ku kazigitsa kwa Aflasef amene ndi mankhwala amene laboratory imene yathandiza kwambiri kuchita kafukufuku wa mankhwala olimbana ndi chuku. Labu imene of Agriculture, the U.S. Deputy Chief of Mission, Andrew Harrop. We also have in our midst the Director for Department of Agriculture Research Services, Dr. Wilson Makumba, IITA Director General, Dr. Nteranya Sanginga, the representative of the private sector, Mr. Frederick Kawarewale, from Agro Input Supplies Limited, the Chief of Party for Malawi Improved Seed System and Technology Project, Naomi Kamanga, Dr. Joseph Atenken, Dr. George Mahuku, John Macy from USAID, Missed Advisor, Dr. Arega Allen, IITA Country Representative, and all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We are gathered here for two main activities. We have witnessed both of them, interestingly. The handing over of the laboratory that has been built to help fight aflatoxin. This is the Aflatoxin Research and Training Laboratory. It's been officially handed over to the Republic of Malawi through the Ministry of Agriculture. We have also witnessed the official launch of Aflasef, which has been developed to fight aflatoxin. I'm sure we all know or have an idea what aflatoxin is? Well, we've probably eaten it at some point. Who knows? Because aflatoxin is a very mean poison that is produced by fungus. And it can develop at different places. Right from the point that you harvest your crop to how you keep it, you might be putting your crop at risk of developing high levels of aflatoxin. And this can affect humans, it can affect animals in many ways. It leads to stunted growth, among other things, but it also leads to many other health hazards. Even our animals don't grow very well if we are feeding them with legumes or feed that has high levels of aflatoxin. Aflatoxin is responsible for a lot of losses in harvest in Africa, in Malawi in particular. We have lost a lot of money because there are countries which will never buy your product if it's got high levels of aflatoxin beyond a certain limit. For that reason, Malawi is losing a lot on the international market because it's been found out that our legumes have high levels of aflatoxin. But that's what we know. How much do we know about how many Malawians are suffering because they're consuming a lot of food from legumes that have got high levels of aflatoxin that we must all celebrate today? We're going to have a few speeches. We also have got Kwacha dance troupe that are going to entertain us to some of Malawi's traditional dances. But before we get into that, I would like to invite Naomi Kamanga, the Mist Chief of Party, to come and address us and welcome us as well. Naomi, please.
The Director of Agricultural Research Services, Dr. Wilson Makumba, all development partners present this morning, CGIA country directors, Dr. Arega for IIT, Dr. Okori for ICRISAT, Dr. Daniel Van Vu for CIP, Dr. Roland for CIAT, directors in the Ministries of Health, Trade, as well as Nutrition, representatives from the private sector, distinguished guests, all protocols observed. Good morning. Allow me to join the Master of Ceremonies in welcoming you to this function this morning, where we have just witnessed the handover of the Aflatoxin Research and Testing Laboratory, as well as the unveiling of the Aflasafe products. What we have just witnessed this morning is a component of a bigger project, the Feed the Future Malawi Improved Seed Systems and Technologies Project. This is a USAID supported project to the tune of $25 million. The project is implemented by a consortium of 4 CGIAR centers, and these include CIP, IITA, CIMIT, as well as ICRISAT, who is leading this project. And this work is being done in partnership with the government of Malawi, of course, DAS in particular, DIAS, as well as other partners in the private sector. The objective has been to increase availability, access, as well as quality of improved seed in order to increase production and productivity amongst the smallholder farmers. But in addition to that, the project had another objective, which we have just witnessed this morning, and this is on food safety in the maize and groundnut value chains. This project has been for a duration of 4.5 years, starting in December of 2014, and will finally wind up in June of 2019. Work has been done in 10 districts of Malawi, that is Mchinji, Lilongwe, Dedza, Ncheu, Balaka, Machinga, Mangochi, Blantyre, Chikwawa, and Sanje. To date, over 13,000 metric tons of seed has been delivered, and over 220,000 households have so far directly benefited from the technologies that this project has supported. Today is therefore a very exciting day for us, for the MIST project as we present our deliverables in the area of food safety. Dr. Joseph Atiken has led a team which has over the past 4 years developed and tested Aflasafe, a biotechnology product that reduces aflatoxins in maize and groundnuts. We are indebted to USAID as well as USDA for the financial support, and we are also indebted to DAS for partnering with us throughout the product development process. We do appreciate the farmer cooperatives for participating in this research and for being willing to have this product tested in their fields. Zikomo kwambiri alimi athu ama cooperative pogwira nafe ntchito imene. Our work will, however, not be complete if the product does not reach the Malawian farming communities. We therefore hope that the private sector in Malawi will explore this investment opportunity that has unveiled itself and take this product to the farmers, either through production or distribution. We further hope that other players, like processors, for example, grain traders, in maize and groundnuts value chains, will also see an opportunity to produce aflatoxin-free products for both domestic and global markets. With those remarks, Control of Agriculture Services, U.S. Deputy Mission Director, IITA Director General, all protocols observed. I thank you for your attention.
You did talk about the private sector, and it's indeed important that the private sector takes this one up and upscales it. There's a lot of market out there that you can exploit, and for that reason we have invited different members of the private sector to learn more about this, and we're going to have a special session where you can ask as many questions as you want about Aflasafe, about aflatoxin, and how you can get involved. So that is going to be done later. But for now, I would like to invite the representative of the private sector, Mr. Frederick Kawarewale, to come and address us.
And the U.S. Department Deputy Representative, all protocols observed. I stand representing the private sector, and without wanting to repeat much about the attributes of the product, because that has been made clear, I want to state that the private sector is indeed happy about the development that we are seeing today. This product, when it comes to Malawi's export potential, especially of groundnuts, we have had problems because of instances of aflatoxin. And this directly answers and speaks to that. And we appreciate that. And we are also thankful that we have a laboratory that we can now conduct tests, so that when we are exporting our product, it is clearly attested that it is indeed having those required minimum residues. So we appreciate this, and we welcome the laboratory, and we hope DAS would be able to support the private sector in making sure that the tests and all the processes that go to lab are done expeditiously, so that we can really move forward with the business. In terms of, I've heard the chief of party was talking about this has been done. We have a baby today, the Aflasafe, and we have the laboratory. Private sector needs to do something. The private sector is very ready to move on and take on the technology. We have requisite infrastructure as we speak now that we can always upscale the product. The network of distribution. So what is required is for the team, including yourselves, as you said, you helped a lot in developing the product. We also would want to ask that you help in the promotion, because what will be more important is we will be able to scale. Are the farmers aware? Are the farmers aware of the existence of the product? How to use the product so that they benefit from it. That is a very, very critical part that we will still require support so that the farmers get to know, get to understand the products, and then it gets to them and they use it better. Zikomo takulandira nonse ine ndayimira private sector. Ife private sector tasangalala kuti zimene zachitika lerozi mwana watibadwira wa Aflasef ndi mwana amene timamudikirira nthawi yonse chifukwa tinali ndi vuto pa tikamatumiza mtedza makamaka kunja chifukwa cha aflatoxin. And chifukwa chakuti lero tili ndi ansala ngati iyi tili ndi chikhulupiriro kuti titha kukuchita export mtedza, ndipo mtedza udzakhala ndi mbewu yodalirika kwa alimi kuti ambiri atha kuchita adopt. Laboratory yayitsekulirako ife tikuyilandira ndipo tigwiritsa ntchito, andi tungopempha bwana Dazi kuti atithandize kumeneko kuti tikabweretsa masamples zathu zikhoza mayenda mwachangu mogwirizana ndi mmene msika wathu ukufunira, ndipo ife tichita chilandira. Koma ngati private sector tilirede kuti tigwire nawo ntchito Dazi USAID kuti tipititse patsogolo product imene iyi. Infrastructure ilipo kale yokuti product itikhoza kungoyamba mawali kuchita scale bwana Dazi, zonse zilipo, ma network distribution zilipo, ndithu chimene chikungofunika tikhale pansi limodzi mwachangu kuti no tikonze ndondomeko imeneyi kuti no katundu apite kwa alimi ndipo export yathu ikhaledi yeniyeni. Zikomo kwambiri. Thank you.
But, there are many ways of staying healthy. One of them is, of course, eating food that does not have high levels of aflatoxin. And another way is exercising regularly, jogging and walking and running. But somebody has lost these car keys. I don't know if they want to walk home or something or jog home. I doubt that's their intention. So if you are missing your keys, can you make arrangements to come backstage at some point and identify them? Otherwise, you're still welcome to walk home. I mean, it's also part of keeping yourself. Now, a little entertainment. We've got some two performances that are going to come from Kwacha Cultural Troupe. They're going to show us Maribenga and Likwata, as I understand. I'll invite them a little bit later on, because these guys can perform any dance from the top of the country all the way to the southern tip. But for now, just two performances. Thank you. Let's put your hands together for Kwacha.
But because of aflatoxin, that disappeared in almost 5 years. And when it disappeared, Nigeria discovered oil, and certainly they couldn't put a lot of effort into agriculture. So groundnut, maize, and agriculture was very much neglected until around 1990, when the oil price was going down completely. But also Nigeria got a leader, President Obasanjo, who was very much interested in agriculture and who wanted to diversify agriculture, and basically pushed Nigeria to go back to that glorious time of the 60s. And at the time, well, at IIT, we started the research on all the pests and diseases, and including basically contamination by aflatoxin. And we did that research for almost 15 years before coming to this product we call Aflasafe today. There's a lot of research, but at the time we found the product, the solution. Out of the question, we were scientists, and once you got your result, you publish, and you thought that was quite enough. You've done your job, it's a public good. And we were thinking that someone else, a private sector, will come and take it. But that didn't happen. So we took that responsibility as well of making sure that we could produce the product at a certain level, at least to reach few farmers. In 2011, when I became the DG, and seeing, my mission was basically, because I was a scientist, was trying to say, okay, all what we have on shelves and what we've published, we want to take that in the public domain in terms of dissemination, scaling up the technologies we have, so it can benefit the farmers which we're supposed to serve. And during that period, we were having some grants, and I remember very well meeting Bill Gates in Kano, and where, just like today, we were demonstrating some of the technologies we have here. Exactly what we have here today, few packets, where we could reach probably just, I would say maximum 100,000 people in Nigeria. Then he asked him a question, he said, this product is good, it's useful, but if you have to reach 1 million of people that you have to reach, what do you have to do? I have to admit that I didn't have an answer, and he said, well, when you have an answer, come and let's talk business, he said. And that's the idea came working with our colleagues in Arizona, went to Arizona, because it's been a problem in the US for a long period, and then found a solution as well. Went to Arizona and see what we're doing. They had a factory producing aflatoxin, Aflasafe, yeah. And we worked together and we built the first factory, a modular factory, which is an improved version of what is in the US, in Nigeria. And that's the time we started basically producing Aflasafe at scale. And the private sector almost tends sees the advantage, and especially the poultry producer saw, because they could certainly not sell their chicken or contaminated. And during that period, they made a survey in human in Nigeria, where we found that almost 57% of the people eating maize and groundnut had a level higher than 1 ppm of aflatoxin in their body. And yes, a lot of people were dying, diagnosed with cancer, which was certainly caused by this. So it became a public health problem. So the investment by the government in that has been quite significant. But for the moment, basically, the poultry farmers in Nigeria are the one who are very much pushing this technology because it's so useful, not only for human, but for the livestock as well. The second problem we had was President Kenyatta coming to Nigeria because he heard about that solution there. And there in Kenya, every year, every season, that season, we have 200 people dying because of aflatoxin. So it's a serious problem, health problem in Kenya, and he came to Nigeria because he heard that was a solution there, and they came and meet with us. And when we visit our facilities, and Kenya started airlifting Aflatoxin from Nigeria to Kenya. But we convinced the president that he could invest, like in Malawi here, with the help of USAID. We built the laboratory, but we've built the factory as well over there. So I believe that for Malawi, there is no convincing argument here that maize and groundnut for export, maize for health, for nutrition, need still to be looked at. And Aflasafe could be one of that solution for that. The stage at which we are for the moment remind me of that stage in Nigeria, where the product of research, we can produce it at a small scale only. Here, what we have here is still very much a small scale. We have to go for the next step of having probably a modular factory here, which is going to produce this in at a large scale if you want to serve all the population you want to serve. It costs only $1 million to do that. And the return to investment is so huge that I will invite the government of Malawi and our partner USAID, you probably to invest in that. Thank you very much.
Over to the Malawi government now. They have equipped the lab and they have helped refurbish the lab. So it's for a good reason that they are a key part of this event. And for that reason, allow me now, our guest of honor, to invite the U.S. Deputy Chief of Mission, Andrew Harrop, to come and address us. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues from the government of Malawi, distinguished private sector and donor partners, ladies and gentlemen, our protocols observed. Mazuka Bwanji, good morning. Tadzuka. I'm very pleased to join the Controller of Agricultural Services and Director General Sanginga and all our colleagues to celebrate the handover of the Aflatoxin lab. But we are also celebrating the opportunity which the recently certified, approved Aflasafe products represent for Malawi. As we all understand, high aflatoxin levels in Malawi, and Malawi's maize and groundnut crops, harm Malawians' health and reduce important export opportunities. Studies show that aflatoxins cause liver cancer and immune system suppression, which leaves affected people vulnerable to a host of transmittable diseases. In children, aflatoxins cause stunted growth, delayed development, liver damage, and liver cancer. But there's an important economic side as well. Malawi's farmers are blessed with the soil and climate conducive to the production of groundnuts. The worldwide trade in groundnuts exceeds $2.94 billion every year and is growing at 5% annually. Malawi cannot fully participate in this growth because premium export markets will not accept products tainted with aflatoxins. An African Union report suggests that Malawi is losing over 64 billion kwacha in trade annually due to the presence of aflatoxins in Malawi's groundnuts. That's 10 times Malawi's current groundnut exports and equivalent to 10% of Malawi's total exports. The US government thinks this is unacceptable, and that is why we've teamed up with the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA, and the government of Malawi to address the aflatoxin problem head on. In all, we invested more than 1.5 billion kwacha, or $2 million US, to construct the lab that we are handing over today to develop Malawi-specific Aflasafe technologies and to build the capacity of laboratory professionals who will help see the project onto its next phase. And all of our hard work is paying off. As many of you will discuss in more detail, the Malawi-specific Aflasafe technologies have proven incredibly effective in maize and in groundnut trials. I am told that we achieved at least 90% reduction, and in fact, according to the posters I looked at, between 91 and 98% reduction in aflatoxin levels, and that almost all of the maize and groundnut harvested from Aflasafe treated fields met the stringent EU safety standards. I'm betting that as time goes by, we can even improve on those numbers. This means that Aflasafe can help position Malawi to recover that 64 billion kwacha in lost business identified in the AU study, and ultimately remove a health threat to the lives of so many Malawians. These are exciting prospects, which brings us to the second motive for today's gathering. While developing Aflasafe and obtaining approvals in Malawi is a major achievement, there is significant work ahead. The US government and IITA experience throughout Africa, where Aflasafe has been commercialized, shows that we need the private sector to take Aflasafe from an effective technology in field tests to a viable, commercial-oriented product used by millions of farmers. And that's why I appreciated the remarks from the head of ISIL, showing that the private sector is quite interested in moving forward quickly here. The next steps are to officially register the new Aflasafe products with the Pesticides Control Board for commercialization, to join with the private sector partners who really understand the potential of Aflasafe, and create awareness about aflatoxins and the benefits of Aflasafe among farmers and other stakeholders along the value chain. As farmers understand its value and invest, they will require training in Aflasafe. We can do this. The partners gathered here today understand the importance of Aflasafe to Malawi. Private investors here today recognize the investment potential of Aflasafe and are ready to partner with the government of Malawi to make this happen. Malawi now has one of the few labs in the region with the capacity to comprehensively test for aflatoxins in maize and groundnuts. Controller of Agriculture, we look forward to coordinating with you and the private sector to bring Aflasafe to market. This will empower Malawi's farmers to deliver maize and groundnut crops that fortify, not weaken your citizens, and that meet the standards of the most demanding export markets. Thank you to everyone here today who have devoted countless hours of effort to bring us to this point, and in particular to all the folks who participated in the displays that the controller and I were able to witness earlier this morning. And thank you to the private sector representatives here today who understand the potential of this technology and are considering the serious investment required to realize it in Malawi. Zikomo Kwambiri.
Makes Jack a very dull boy. For that reason, I'd like to call forward Kwacha Dance Troupe to also give us one dance, just one dance. They're going to perform Beni, yet another dance that is... just celebrating some of the achievements that they did, and we can always laugh about it now, but it wasn't a laughing matter at that time. So thank you so much, our cultural troupe, for reminding us of how times used to be like in the past, and also entertaining us. As we move on, I would now like to invite the Director for the Department of Agriculture Research Services, Dr. Wilkinson Makumba, to address us.
The Controller of Agriculture Services, Dr. Alexander Bulirani, the USA Deputy Chief Mission, Mr. Andrew Herop, the Director General of IITA, Dr. Sanginga, the Regional Director of IITA, Dr. David Chikoy, the Country Director of IITA, Dr. Aregalina, the Chief of Party of MIST, Mrs. Naomi Kamanga, all Senior Service Officers, Civil Service Officers here present, the Country Director of ICRISAT, Dr. Patrick Okori, who is the advisor of MIST project, and all the CG Center country directors here present, or their representatives, all development partners here present, the farmer representatives, the representative of the civil society network of agriculture, the CEOs of various private sector here present, members of the press, clean maize which they will be also consuming, and therefore all this will entail actually good healthy for our farmers. And indeed, as our farmers actually will be in good health, we should also expect that actually agriculture will also boast, because we really need a good and healthy farmers actually to actually do good agriculture. Guest of honor, I wish to assure you and also our donor that has actually contributed the financing of this laboratory that does and the IITA will continue working together to ensure the continued and the efficient running of this laboratory for the sustainable of actually delivery of services to our clients. Already you have heard actually the invitation from our colleagues from the private sector who are actually requesting us to continue providing them with timely services for them actually to be ready to good production. I wish also to assure our colleagues that indeed actually we are there to serve them timely to make sure that their business will not be affected at any point. With these remarks, let me once again thank you, sir, for coming to grace this important occasion, but also let me thank the Deputy Chief of Mission and also the DG for IITA for being with us during this auspicious occasion. It is now my great honor, sir, to invite you to address the audience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Makumba and the Director of Ceremonies. The USAID Deputy Chief of Mission, Mr. Andrew Herop, the IIT Director General, Dr. Nterera Sanginga, the Director of Agriculture Research Services, Dr. Wilson Makumba, the IIT Regional Director, Dr. David Chikoi, the Chief of Party for Feed the Future, Malawi Improved Seed Systems and Technologies, Mr. Andrew Masse, the Deputy Station Manager for Chiteze Agricultural Research, the Country Representative for IIT, Dr. Arega Aleni, the Country Representative for ICRISAT, Dr. Patrick Okori, the country representatives of other CGIAR centers, so CIP, CIAT, ICRAF and IFPRI, the MIST Chief of Party, Naomi Kamanga, the representative from the private sector and also CEOs from institutions in Malawi, members of the press, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, which USAID is handing over today. But before I go to his prepared speech, which better captures those sentiments, I would like to make a response to the request which was put out by private sector. The aflatoxin issue has got two aspects. There is a health aspect, as most of the speakers have mentioned. There's also a trade aspect. The farmers in Malawi, they need to understand both aspects. So it will take us to take the message to the farmers so that they understand the health risk which the aflatoxins bring in. The Agriculture Ministry has got the capability to take any message to any part of the country through its network of extension services. We have at the moment close to 180 extension planning areas, and on top of that or below that, over 300 sections. Even though there are issues of vacancies in these sections, the ministry still has got the capability to take a message to the people. And I'm particularly happy to have heard from the Deputy Chief of Mission that after the lab, the USAID is not going to leave us alone, but they are going to work with us to take the message and to support the technological requirements for the production and commercialization of Aflatoxin. At this moment, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow me to revert to the prepared speech, which I said is important for these occasions. So it is a great honor for me to be here this morning to preside over the official handover of the Chiteze Aflatoxin and Microcin laboratory, and also launch the two products of Aflasafe, namely Aflasafe MW MZ01. I'm told this is for Malawi and Mozambique, and the Aflasafe MW02. Which is going to be used for the country. Invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, I consider this a very important development for the people of Malawi and the farming community. As you already know, agriculture is very important in Malawi, as it employs more than 85% of the people in the country and accounts for more than 60% of all rural economic activities. The sector contributes something around 30% of the GDP and also about 60% of the exports. This is very important, and as of now, agriculture remains the only activity which requires massive support. But despite this importance, and like many other African countries, our agriculture sector continues to face many challenges. In Malawi, only 40% of the country is arable. So only 40% of the over 120,000 square kilometers is arable. And the production and productivity of major crops are still low due to inadequate use of improved varieties, inputs, and the lack of innovations. Farmers are poorly equipped with modern agricultural production skills and knowledge and have limited access to financial and other support services. Consequently, agricultural productivity remains low, and most of our smallholder farmers are poor and their food and nutrition insecure. And this, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, threatens our efforts to build the economy and improve the well-being of the people. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, an effective socio-economic transformation which have a significant impact on poverty in Malawi and the region should necessarily at this moment be anchored in agriculture. It is for this reason that the government of Malawi has given agriculture transformation a very high priority on its agenda. On the other hand, it is also clear that for the transformation to take place, we must invest in agricultural research and utilize the resulting technologies in order to address the many challenges and bottlenecks in the sector. Invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, aflatoxins are a major challenge to maize production in this country. Aflatoxins undermine our efforts to improve the health and well-being of the people. While many crops are susceptible to aflatoxin contamination in Malawi, maize and groundnuts have been identified as critical crops for which national efforts must begin due to their importance in food and nutrition and international trade, respectively. Maize is the most important staple in Malawi, and all of us know, and is cultivated on more than 70% of the total arable land, and contributes significantly to diets of more than 80% of the population, with a per capita consumption of about 380 grams per day. Now, with such high dependency on this crop, associated dietary aflatoxin risks are very high. As at one point the chairperson for the African Union Commission highlighted recently, there can be no food security without food safety. So even if you have got a lot of food, but that food is contaminated, then you do not have food security. Groundnuts, on the other hand, is one of the edible nut commodities which has emerged as a top-ranking export commodity. And in fact, in the 80s, groundnuts were one of the very high-ranking export commodity in Malawi. But it was exactly the issues of aflatoxins which has made groundnut to take the backbench. It is being exported, but only exported in the region and also under circumstances which do not ascribe to international trade. But the crop constitutes one of the potential alternatives to tobacco, and it actually features in the just ended national export strategy. It is believed that the country has the potential to increase groundnut exports and realize more foreign exchange and employment opportunities along the value chain. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Malawi government has developed and begun implementing parts of the Malawi program on aflatoxin control, which is called MAPAC in short. This is to counter the wide-ranging harmful effects of aflatoxin in the nation's food system and economy. AflaSafe technology development is just on time in Malawi to advance the fight against aflatoxin contamination. Climate change and the accompanying extreme weather conditions, from drought in the south and too much rain in other regions, are not only threats to food production, but also create favorable conditions for the fungus that produces aflatoxin and increase in aflatoxin contamination. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Aflasafe MWMZ01 and Aflasafe MW02 reduce aflatoxin contamination safely and effectively by between 70 to 98% and offer a practical and cost-effective solution to a major constraint to the production of quality maize and groundnuts. Distinguished guests, I am pleased to say that our Ministry of Agriculture, Technology and Clearing Committee recently and unanimously approved the use of Aflasafe MWMZ01 and Aflasafe MW02. In Malawi, that is for aflatoxin mitigation. Therefore, there is a strong case for supporting upscaling of the technology in this country and indeed in Africa. I therefore at this stage applaud USAID for supporting the research, USDA, ARIS, DAS, IITA, and other partners for standing behind the efforts to develop and introduce Aflasafe. I understand these efforts are also taking place in many other countries in Africa, and that Aflasafe products have been registered in 9 African countries. I'm also told that this is part of an initiative to make food in Africa safe from aflatoxin contamination through multidisciplinary and multisectoral approach. I also commend USAID, IITA, and DAS, who have jointly established an aflatoxin research and training laboratory at Chiteze Research Station, where we are today, that is going to serve the entire country in developing a local capacity on various aspects of mycotoxin management. I'm extremely pleased to learn that the laboratory plays a significant role in providing evidence for the need for Aflasafe commercialization and will play a crucial role in providing regulatory services in Aflasafe commercialization. However, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I note that for the technology to be available to the smallholder, we must work with the private sector. So I call upon the private sector to further invest in the manufacturing and commercialization of this technology and others that will come out of the research to ensure that they reach the farthest of farmers in the country. We need to get the financial sector on board. As we all know, that one of the greatest challenge to farmers' access to improved inputs is lack of access to financial services. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure lessons will be learned from the Aflasafe Technology Transfer and Commercialization Project, ATTC. We will work with the private sector and public institutions to increase the availability and accessibility of Aflasafe, and we will use efficient manufacturing and distribution models. I would like to assure the project team of the support, the ministry, to ensure that this technology, which is of great importance to the food safety and security of Malawi, reaches the majority of farmers in need. Ladies and gentlemen, invited guests, we have conducted a lot of awareness campaigns among the population on aflatoxins, and we will continue to do so, more especially with assurance from the Deputy Chief of Mission We will continue to do so with relevant ministries and Malawi program on aflatoxin control MAPAC. This is because in addition to Aflasef, we need farmers to follow good agricultural practices for crop growth, harvesting, drying, storage to minimize aflatoxin contamination as well as to reduce post-harvest losses. I am pleased to note that we are part of the African-wide partnerships for aflatoxin control in Africa, which is called PACA Initiative, under the African Union Commission, whose vision is an Africa that is free from harmful effects of aflatoxins. On behalf of the Malawi government and the people of Malawi, I would like to thank all the partners and organizations that have supported this work, and I would like also to sincerely thank our development partners such as USAID, the United States Department of Foreign Agricultural Services, and GIZ for the financial support. I would like to applaud the American ambassador through Mr. Andrew Harrop for personally coming up here to hand over the aflatoxin lab to the ministry, which I have received with honor. Deputy Chief of Mission, take a message to Her Excellency Ambassador Palmer and indeed to the American people that you have shown that you have a heart for the Malawi people. I assure you all our government's full support to effective operation of the aflatoxin research and training laboratory and commercialization of the two aflatoxin products in the country. And with these few remarks, I hereby declare Aflasef MW MZ01 and Aflasef MW02 officially launched. I thank you very much for your listening. God bless you.
The U.S. and Malawi have a long history of agricultural partnership through USAID, U.S. Department of Agriculture, U.S. Forest Service. We've worked with Malawi for decades in improving agricultural production, agricultural safety, and other issues related to agriculture, such as water management and forestation. That's really an area for the private sector. And in my remarks, I noted that after we have worked together with Malawian authorities to develop Aflatoxin, we hope the private sector will take this up and will see that there is an excellent market for their product here to sell to Malawian farmers so that they can produce better, safer peanuts, groundnuts, and maize that they can use for production here, for consumption here, and then to export throughout the world.
Now, you said Malawi is losing about 64 billion annually to aflatoxin due to lack of exports to external markets. How soon should we expect to reverse this if quicker implementation is achieved?
Well, that really depends on the pace of implementation and on hopefully the excitement of the private sector to become involved, to invest in Aflasafe, to produce it, then of course to work with farmers to make sure that they know about the dangers of aflatoxin and the benefits of Aflasafe. And then working with the government of Malawi to help identify export markets to make sure that the groundnuts are able to go where Malawian farmers intend them to be sent.
You also described the losses from the international market as unacceptable. What do you clarify?
Well, Malawi has such an opportunity to export something that grows so well on Malawian soils here. For a country that is so dependent on agriculture for its economy and for exports here, to lose out on a product that could go around the world and could increase total Malawian exports by up to 10% is unacceptable. And I know that the Malawian government and Malawian people feel the same way and want to make sure that they take advantage of the opportunities that are there in the global market.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
They can be sick. There's mention of cancer. There's been a mention of stunting and all sorts of other health problems. So we need to take this message to the people so that they are aware. Then the next thing is to harness the private sector so that they produce the two products, so that the products are available for the farmers to use in order to deal with the question of contamination. So basically two things: awareness of the people about the hazards, and then getting private sector to start producing the products, and also our ministry also taking the message about the availability of the products. So this is the way forward. And of course there's the issue of training more people so that they will know how to use the products, and also maybe produce other auxiliary products for the future.
You also said that Malawi has lost the international market, especially on groundnuts. So maybe any message, positive?
Yes, the market for groundnuts was very robust in the 80s, in the 70s. But because of this, all that market crashed. So to us, I think it's a renewal, it's a rebirth of the potential for groundnuts to start exporting to those markets which we had lost because of the toxins.
What were some of the markets?
Well, most of our groundnuts in the 80s was going to the United States and to UK. You remember that time it was the time of ADMAC. So ADMAC was buying these groundnuts, the Charimbana, the Manipinto, you remember all these things. These groundnuts were going to the market in Europe and to the United States. These are the markets which can pay you a prime price, which can reward the farmers very well.
Now, looking at the investment, 7 million kwacha that has been invested in the lab, and the losses, 64 billion kwacha annually. As a government, could you not have invested in this way back to reclaim this market?
Well, everything has got its time, but the time which, by the time the investment has come, is maybe more opportune, because we had lost the market for groundnuts, but we also had markets for other crops like tobacco. Now this time you've heard that tobacco is kind of winning out, and maybe that is what has brought in the impetus to both the government, because it's not the American government which decided on its own to come and invest in this. It is the government which has seen that now we need to look back at the lost market for groundnuts, so that we can replace the losses we are going to have for tobacco. So it's not that there has been a delay, but everything has got its time, and this time the trigger has been the events taking place in the tobacco industry.
How soon should we expect to recover the market?
First of all, we have to produce a crop which has got 0 part per billion of the aflatoxins. We have heard that the country was using another method, which is not a subject today, but we have to produce a crop, and the good thing is that we've got a lab. In the past, you could send a product without knowing the quantity of aflatoxin, so you could have whole containers returned because they have got this toxin. Now, people will send the product having known the levels of aflatoxin, that they are allowable for the market. Like in the SADC region, much of the African region, it's about 10%, about 10.
That needs intervention.
My name is David Chikoye. I'm the regional director for the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. Now, coming to the problem at hand, the problem of aflatoxin, it is widespread. We as IITA, we have actually done surveys in all districts of Malawi on maize and groundnuts, and actually we have found severe infestation of aflatoxin on both these crops. As you know, maize is a staple crop for all the Malawians. It's a staple crop for the region, which means that everybody eats maize. So if this maize is attacked by mycotoxins, that means everybody is exposed. For the groundnuts, it's the same thing. All farmers in Malawi, they grow groundnuts as one of the protein crops. More importantly, as one of the cash crop crops. Now, the problem for the groundnuts is that, but then the bad quality they return in their households and eat. Basically what they are doing is they are eating high levels of aflatoxin. As a result, we are exposing ourselves to aflatoxins. We are exposing especially the children to aflatoxins, which might actually retard their growth. It might also affect their immune systems. There are even extreme cases where people might suffer from cancer. So all in all, when you look at the problem at hand, it is a trade problem because one, we cannot export groundnuts to especially European countries, but also it is a health problem because all our people have this exposure to mycotoxins.
We understand that only Tanzania so far, close to us, is producing Aflatoxin, not in Malawi. So suppose we need it as more as possible. How can you help us in conjunction with the private sector?
What we need to do is to support the private sector. For you to commercialize Aflatoxin production, one, you need a laboratory, which is this laboratory today, which we handed over to the government of Malawi to be producing the source inoculum. Then the private sector has to be involved in the actual formulation of the product and also marketing, because that's what their specialization is. But also we need to bring in another partner, who are the people from the financial sector, be it the donors maybe who have supported us up to now, or maybe even the banks, so that they can actually finance these activities. Because you know what, this is actually a very strong business case. If you look at, how much area of maize is produced in Malawi, it's so much. So the market potential of this product is so huge. So let the three people work together, the researchers on one side, the private sector who are going to build factories, and also then the financing sector. Maybe one other comment I need to make and make an appeal is the government still has a role to play on the policy framework. Maize does not only need to be graded based on the quality of the grain, the color, the percentage of chaff in there. Let also be a quality element where actually they will be graded according to the level of aflatoxin, and then let it be put into law that all the maize that has to be marketed, the maize that has to be milled, has to meet certain standards for it to be marketed widely.
How friendly is it on the environment?
Sorry?
How friendly is the treatment on the environment?
Very friendly. The product we have developed, first of all, we went out there to pick samples from the soils of Malawi. From there, we selected the best strain from the soils of Malawi. Now, all we have done is we have picked these, concentrated them, and then we are taking them back to the same environment where they came from. So it's the same environment. So basically, this is a very environmentally friendly product. No concern whatsoever.
Thank you so much.